मेरे साथ इस वक्त एक बहुत खास मेहमान जुड़ रही हैं। मेरे साथ एक्स स्पोक्स पर्सन प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ यूक्रेन ज़ेलेंस्की की लूलिया मेंडेल जुड़ रही हैं। मैम, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस। I know these are the very tough times, and just to keep you in the knowledge, being the #1 network in the country, it is our prerogative to know exactly what is happening there. You've just heard our journalist who was the first Indian to reach there among all the journalists. How are things there? How are you and your family?
Thank you a lot for telling the world our story. This is very important for us to have our message out. I left Kyiv on the second day of aggression because we understood that Russians were like an hour and a half before entering Kyiv, and I managed to leave Kyiv in an hour before they entered Kyiv. Right now there are shellings in Kyiv, and just right now I've got one more. We have application from Kyiv that has immediately go to the shelters, and I see that like Kyiv citizens are going to shelters like many times per day because there is a lot of shelling. But originally I am from the south of Ukraine. It's called Kherson city. There are 4 towns captured there, and they are coming to Kherson itself. This is the biggest administrative town. My mother is a pediatrician there, and she is hiding in bomb shelters all the time. She's hearing all these explosions, and once she was telling me they had over 30 newborn kids, and she was hiding there. This is a disaster because Ukraine is so peaceful country, and we are so civilized people. We would never believe it is possible, and on such a large scale. So the situation is pretty bad, and we see that the war is not ending. But on the other hand, we Ukrainians are united as never, and we are not going to give up. We see that our men all wore uniform, and they are proudly wearing this uniform. We have territorial defense units that consist from just ordinary men from the villages and small towns. The President Zelensky and decided to provide these people free rifles so that they can defend their home. And we see a lot of checkpoints. Some checkpoints are made with official National Guard and official servicemen of Ukraine, and others are just like I'm saying handmade checkpoints that are made by just ordinary men who are eager to defend their country. Right now we have a lot of shelling in the north, in the east, in the south of the country, and of course in the center where Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, is situated. The situation is very difficult, but we also see that Russians are not motivated to fight because they do not have any motivation. There are over 5,000 of Russian servicemen who were killed here while Ukrainians were defending our land. We see a lot of disinformation narratives, and that's why it's so important that journalists are telling the world the story of Ukraine today.
How true are the reports that Russians are actually targeting the civilian areas, and now when they ask people to exit, they're going to go all out, all full throttle, the way they did it in Syria, and they are going to hit the civilian areas even more?
It's a disaster. The latest report from the General Staff is that 180 Iskander missiles were hit from Belarus to Ukraine. So it means that not only Russia is fighting Ukraine already, but Russia that is cooperating with Belarus. That's why it's so important that we are getting the international help from all over the world. I mean, military, sanctions, finance, etc., etc. Because Russia is fighting civilian infrastructure, as you mentioned. Just the other day, they hit the biggest Ukrainian children's hospital, and in that hit, one kid died. He was 5-year-old. 2 kids were wounded, and 2 adults were wounded. Yesterday, last night, our Minister of Healthcare made a report saying that 16 children already were killed. In Donbass, it's the disastrous situation in terms of civilian infrastructure. They hit schools, kindergartens, hospitals, just ordinary residential houses. I'm getting messages from my friends from there, and they are just living in these bomber shelters. We have kids who are delivered in bomb shelters, and this is something that the world cannot allow in the 21st century. But the worst thing is that Putin tries to escalate. He is losing on every direction because nobody needs this war. Like, his people are losing. He is losing. You know, Russia is being isolated right now by the world. And he's getting just dead bodies of young servicemen whom he sent here in Ukraine. So, in fact, to stop despite of stopping this, he tries to escalate this. And yesterday he was threatening the world with nuclear weaponry. The issue is that in his speech that was lasting for 55 minutes, in the first day of aggression, when he actually recognized...
Do you see a possibility, Lulia, I'm asking you this question because it matters a lot to us and the entire world. Do you see there is a possibility, the kind of resistance which the people of Ukraine are showing, it's unprecedented, never heard of. But do you see, because of this resistance, Putin can use nuclear weapons against Ukraine?
I would say that these are not connected things. Putin can use nuclear anytime, and I went in touch with many Western intelligence people, journalists, and people who are in politics, and many of them are afraid that he will use nuclear not only against Ukraine. For you to understand, the latest polling says that 74% of Poles, like Polish citizens, are afraid that Putin will attack Poland. And Britain is talking about nuclear very seriously, because they understand that Putin is not angry only at Ukraine. Putin thinks that Ukraine is an object, and he is angry at NATO and at the West. He actually resists now the Western values. So that's why NATO is so much concerned that Putin can use nuclear.
So, but do you see him, the kind of desperation he's showing, the kind of statements he's coming out with, do you see him using that options against a country which has so many citizens from Russia? He can use the nuclear weapons against Ukraine? Do you see that?
I see that he can use nuclear. We cannot exclude this situation, not only against Ukraine, but against other countries too.
Now this is absolutely shocking to us. The kind of the fight which we have seen President Zelensky is putting up, it's more like a David versus Goliath, and he's turning out to be a David. We are very keen to speak to him, Lulia, whenever it is possible. Our channel would like to speak to him. We understand the limitations he has. But can Ukraine hold on to the fort for longer before you get the requisite weaponry from the NATO countries, from the European Union?
For you to know, we are getting already a lot of weaponry from different countries from the West. The United States, Great Britain, Poland, Lithuania, Finland. I mean, a lot of countries are providing that. Even Germany agreed to provide us weaponry, which was a big break for Germany. We are using, and we are not going to give up. The things that we are asking for is to ban Russia from SWIFT, and we see that a lot of banks have been banned already, to ban the Central Bank of Russia, and we are very grateful for banning it, because we see that Russian economy is failing, and this means that Russians will go against this war. The third thing that we are asking for, no-fly zone, because Russians have air superiority. There won't be any opportunity for Russians to get to the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, as soon as they did it. But they did it thanks to air superiority. So we ask for no-fly zone. And now the president of Ukraine has appealed to the European Union to find a fast-track procedure to get Ukraine to the European Union. And we know that Poland, Lithuania, Slovakia, and even the head of supporting this already. This means for us really a lot, because the diplomatic side and information war in this war are as much important as real military actions on the ground.
What is your assessment? You've worked with the president. You know what is happening with Russia. You know exactly how they're moving forward. What is your assessment? Is Ukraine the only target of President Putin, or he's going to move ahead after Ukraine and maybe attack some more European countries? Do you see that happening?
Not only me, but also the representatives of Western countries see this too. Poland is very concerned and is grateful to Ukraine that we are standing here between them and Russia, because they understand that they are the next target. Moldova, which is bordering Ukraine, also was occupied by Russia 30 years ago. They have still the part of under occupation by Russia, and they know that there will be nothing to stop Russia. All Baltic states, they understand and they are afraid and they are helping a lot because they understand that they will be next. Finnish president went out because Finland is very close to Russia and they understand how it's concerning and how it's dangerous to let Russians further than Ukraine. So it's gonna, we don't know where Putin will stop if we don't stop him in Ukraine.
Lulia, thank you very much for joining us. We express our solidarity with you. We are standing with you. Our team is there conveying whatever is happening in that country without any biases. We wish you all the best and we wish to see your country flourished once again. Thank you very much.
So much, sir. Thank you so much.
परवाह देश की, सोमवार से शुक्रवार रात 10 बजे TV9 भारतवर्ष पर।